Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yechi Chanzong. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 22nd of September. Indian PM Modi embarks on three-day visit to US, will meet President Biden, address UN General Assembly. SAARC meet cancelled as Pakistan insists on Taliban participation. And Narayan Khadka sworn in as Nepal's new foreign minister. And now for all the details. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday departed for his much-awaited visit to the United States, where he will hold several bilateral meetings besides attending the Quad Leaders Summit and addressing UN General Assembly debate. During his September 22 to 25 visit, PM Modi is scheduled to meet US President Joe Biden on September 24. The two leaders will discuss the current regional security situation following the recent developments in Afghanistan. He is also expected to meet US Vice President Kamala Harris and hold bilateral meetings with Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. Taking to Twitter, PM Modi on Wednesday said his visit to the United States would be an occasion to strengthen the Indo-US comprehensive global strategic partnership and consolidate ties with Japan and Australia. Modi said he will conclude his visit with an address at the United Nations General Assembly, focusing on the pressing global challenges including the COVID-19 pandemic, the need to combat terrorism, climate change and other important issues. The 76th session of the UN General Assembly opened on Tuesday, and top leaders from across the world have already started converging in New York for high-level debate week. The UNGA meeting this year is being held in a hybrid format. A meeting of foreign ministers of South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation or SAARC countries, slated to be held later this week in New York, has been cancelled after Pakistan wanted the Taliban to represent Afghanistan during the meet. Reports suggest that majority of SAARC member nations agreed that an empty chair can be kept for Afghanistan. However, Pakistan did not agree and the meeting was called off.
A meeting of foreign ministers of SAARC, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation countries, slated to be held on Saturday in New York, has been cancelled after Pakistan wanted the Taliban to represent Afghanistan during the meet, reports suggest. India, along with some other members, objected to the proposal by Pakistan, and due to lack of consensus or concurrence, the meeting was cancelled. The SAARC is the regional intergovernmental organization of 8 countries of South Asia, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. Reports suggest that the majority of SAARC member nations agreed that an empty chair can be kept for Afghanistan during the meet. However, Pakistan did not agree and the meeting was called off due to no consensus.
It shows no consensus. So we'll have to wait and see. There are many developments taking place in Afghanistan. Even our party has said the new dispensation should be an inclusive one, guaranteeing the rights, human rights, democratic rights of women, children and all other minority communities.
Several top cabinet members of the new regime in Kabul are blacklisted by the UN, and the group has still not been recognized by the world. Pakistan, which enjoys considerable influence with the Taliban, was often accused by the former President Ashraf Ghani-led Afghan government of giving the Taliban military aid, a charge Islamabad denies.
Poverty and hunger have spiraled since the Taliban takeover, and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres told an international aid conference last week that Afghans are facing perhaps their most perilous hour. Scores of displaced families are in desperate need of help, and those staying in Afghan capital Kabul say they hope for job opportunities and security in the country.
Scores of families displaced by recent fighting in Afghanistan are in desperate need of help as a humanitarian crisis unfolds in the country. Internally displaced Afghans staying in the capital Kabul said on Monday They hope for job opportunities and security in the country as some described an uncertain future under the Taliban. A displaced man from Kunduz, Tajuddin, who fled with his family, said he had given up his home in hopes of going to Iran but was unable to leave.
داشتم خانه زندگی سودا کردم رفتیم امروز ایران میرفتیم مرزا بند بود دیگه اونجا یک چند پیک داشتیم خرج شد پس آمدیم این 2 روز میشه اینجا آمدیم دیگه.
Meanwhile, a member of the International Medical Corps said his team was working to provide free medical care to displaced people.
وی روزمره دلته راځي موږ سره ډاکټر صاحبان دي قابله ده نرسان دي هغوی هم دلته روزمره راځي او دوی تداوي کیږي دلته د هغوی ته د هرې ناروغۍ لپاره دوا ورکول کیږي مثلا اکثره ماشومان اسهالات لري سینه بغلي ستونی درد لري سترګو درد بعضې جلدي امراض لري د ټولو لپاره دلته ډاکټر صاحبان شته او د معاینې په اساس هغوی ته دوا ورکوي او تداوي کیږي.
Last week, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees said more than 18 million Afghans, or about half the population, required humanitarian aid before the Taliban took over. More than 3.5 million Afghans were already displaced in a country that is battling drought and the COVID-19 pandemic. Donors pledged more than $1 billion to help Afghanistan, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said last week, as poverty and hunger have spiraled in the country since the Islamist Taliban took power and foreign aid has dried up, raising the specter of a mass exodus.
Moving on, crumbling infrastructure in Pakistan-administered Kashmir has continued to afflict lives of locals in the illegally occupied region. A local politician highlighted lack of health, education, and even basic facilities such as proper roads have kept several areas in the region underdeveloped.
The poor condition of roads and absence of proper education and healthcare facilities in several areas of Pakistan-administered Kashmir have continued to make life miserable for people in the illegally occupied region. Locals say the authorities do not pay any heed to their requests and accuse it is part of Islamabad's agenda to keep the region underdeveloped. A leader of opposition Pakistan People's Party, Shaukat Javed Mir, blamed the patience of people is now giving way after no hospitals, schools and basic facilities are in sight to be developed in near future, despite big claims by Pakistan PM Imran Khan's ruling PTI government.
इलाकों को बंद हो जाए ताकि लोगों के बुनियादी जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की तबाही है, जो मवासलात की जो फुकदान है, जो सेहत तालीम बिल्कुल नापैद है लोगों पर, वो उस पर तवज्जो दे सकें. ये दफ़ाए पाकिस्तान के लिए भी लाजम है, तहरीक आज़ादी कश्मीर के लिए भी लाजम है, और जो ह्यूज आबादी है शहरों की तरफ बढ़ रही है, इसकी नकल मकानी रोकने के लिए असमस जरूरी है.
Residents of Pakistan-administered Kashmir have been waiting for years now for a better administration that could work for their development. However, corruption and ignorance in the system has become a major challenge for the growth of the region, leaving its future in dark.
In news from Nepal, senior leader of Nepali Congress Narayan Khadka was on Wednesday administered the oath of office as Nepal's new foreign minister by President Bidya Devi Bhandari. Khadka was appointed for the post by Prime Minister Sher Deuba to lead the country's delegation to the ongoing United Nations General Assembly.
Senior leader of ruling Nepali Congress Party Narayan Khadka was appointed as Nepal's new foreign minister on Wednesday. President Bidya Devi Bhandari administered the oath of office and secrecy to Khadka on the recommendation of the government led by Prime Minister Sher Deuba. This comes in the wake of preparations being made by the government to send a Nepali delegation to the United Nations General Assembly (UNGA) in New York. Deuba on Tuesday held consultations with the top leaders of the ruling parties to appoint a minister from the Nepali Congress. Leaders close to Ramchandra Paudel in the Nepali Congress have taken strong exception to the appointment of Khadka as the new minister from the party. They have alleged that Deuba failed to hold consultations within the party before appointing Khadka to the post of a minister. All the 4 ministers in Deuba's cabinet appointed from the party so far are considered close to him. The post of the foreign minister had been vacant for more than 2 months after the formation of Nepal's new government led by Deuba. With Khadka's appointment, there are now 7 ministers in the government, including Deuba.
Moving on to news from Bangladesh. Bangladesh in recent months has witnessed a significant spike in dengue fever cases, and hospitals and clinics in capital Dhaka are crammed with dengue patients. The surge in dengue cases has put a strain on blood banks, trying to keep a stock of platelets in a rush of blood use by dengue patients with critically low platelet counts.
Blood banks based in Bangladesh's capital Dhaka are currently scrambling to refill their stocking shelves with bags of platelets. The need for blood donations therefore has heightened intensely and sometimes to a desperate level as dengue patients are involved. Bangladesh witnessed a significant spike in dengue fever cases over recent months, with 15,976 cases and 59 deaths from the mosquito-borne tropical disease registered so far this year, according to country's Directorate General of Health Services (DGHS) on Monday. Dhaka's blood banks are facing a huge rush of blood use by dengue patients with critically low platelet counts. Many people were seen waiting with doctors' prescriptions for platelet transfusion for their patients inside a major blood bank in Dhaka recently. In addition, medical workers were seen extremely busy dealing with blood collection from donors and testing samples. Last week, some of Dhaka's major public hospitals were found flooded by patients sick with dengue fever. The sharp spike in dengue cases is straining Bangladesh's fragile healthcare system, which is already battered by a worsening coronavirus crisis in the country.
Rugby game is fast gaining popularity among girls in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir territory. The Sports Council of the Kashmir Valley is making efforts to promote the sport and is providing special training to female players to help them make a career in it.
The world-famous thrilling sport of rugby is getting popularity among the women sports enthusiasts in India's Jammu and Kashmir territory. These young players say that rugby is attracting female players as it is an aggressive sport and they're keen on becoming professional players. For years, because of cold climatic condition in the region, most of the players have been playing indoor games. With the support from the sport authorities, players are now able to participate in the outdoor games and are getting special training from professional rugby coaches to hone their skills and to participate in the national level.
अच्छा लगता है इससे आपको एक हिसाब से आपकी मेंटल स्ट्रेंथ फिजिकल स्ट्रेंथ दोनों पता चलती है कि आप कितना स्टेबल है और दूसरी बात इससे जब फिजिकली स्ट्रांग हम इस गेम में फिजिकल इंटैक्ट ज़्यादा है जिसकी वजह से हम फिजिकली एक्सरसाइज ज़्यादा करते हैं और वो पर्सनली एज अ गर्ल पावर भी बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है बीइंग फिजिकली स्ट्रांग। मुझे लगता है कश्मीर में ज़्यादा ये इंटैक्ट गेम ही ज़्यादा पसंद करती है गर्ल्स बीइंग रफ ऑन द फील्ड वगैरह एग्रेसिव थोड़ी गेम है ये तो इस वजह से मुझे लगता है ज़्यादा गर्ल्स को अट्रैक्ट कर रहा है।
लड़के मारते हैं स्क्रम वैसे हार्ड गेम गर्ल्स में भी अब बन चुकी है। गर्ल्स ने भी नेशनल्स बहुत खेले कश्मीर में भी अब इंशाल्लाह हम तैयारी कर रहे हैं इंडिया रग्बी के लिए।
Local tournaments are also being organized by Jammu and Kashmir Sports Council to enhance sports activities. To further boost the game spirit, the Sports Council has also sanctioned a rugby ground in the region.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/AsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @AsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.